This is Mari Robeson of Love Lulu Creative, a podcast that supports and celebrates artists and creative entrepreneurs while giving back to the community in a unique and meaningful way. This is episode number 37, and I have such a good episode for you today. On today's show, I have Dayna Langlois of the Dayna Lee collection. So how do I describe her? Well, if you walk into any stationery store or any home decor store and you see those lovely little notebooks or coffee mugs or pens that have hand-scripted, uplifting sentiments written on them, it's most likely hers. She's that well known, and she is the original creator of these types of products. So getting to interview her for me was a really big deal, but yet she was so humble and sweet and kind. And I really enjoyed this episode of learning about how she started literally from nothing and grew it into an international company. So super inspirational. I know you guys are really going to like this episode. And if you are liking these episodes, if you would please subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. Anybody who's interested in entering a creative field, all of these episodes are just loaded with great advice. And today, there is no exception to that. Dayna shares some really great advice, and I just really adore her, and I know you guys will too. So stay tuned for this episode with the very talented Dayna Lee Langlois. Hi, Dayna. I am so happy that we are finally able to talk to each other. This has been just so crazy trying to connect with you, but I'm really happy to have you on the show today. So thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you. It made my day when you asked me if I would be a part of this. So thank you for having me.
I was super actually honored. I mean, you have a really wonderful brand, and this is your 6-year anniversary, and I've known you for a while on Instagram, so I feel like I know you already, even though we haven't actually talked to each other until right now. But I just want to ask you about your journey, because it's really a really unique and special one, and very inspiring to many people, not even just the students that are just starting out, but to many people who maybe are thinking of shifting careers or doing something different. So tell me about you. Where are you from?
I'm Canadian, and I live just outside of Toronto. And I've lived here almost 8 years, but I'm a military brat. So my whole life, like every couple years, we picked up and left somewhere new. So this is like the longest I've lived in one spot.
Wow. So are you living there because you and Navy, you're married though, right?
I'm married, and I have 3 children. So that the moving around part took place in my childhood with my dad being in the Canadian Army. Oh. And so now we just sort of sit still, and it's different. I think I'm antsy to go somewhere new now.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
So you like to travel around. Well, now probably wouldn't be the time to do that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so so you have this amazing brand that is very art related. Did you study art in school, or how did this come about?
Oh my gosh, this is like a long, annoying story. I have no experience whatsoever in what I do. And I think, like, if you told even an 18-year-old me, you're going to be designing, stationery and gifts when you're older, and you're going to be in box stores, and you'll be flying to New York City for meetings, I think I would have laughed. And I think I still have imposter syndrome, because I just can't believe that that's what happened, and I'm so lucky. But no, I was in college for advertising, and I suddenly lost my father in just almost when the first year ended.
Oh,
and
wow.
And it was like a month before exams, and I couldn't go through with it, and I would have to repeat the whole year next year. So I decided to leave. And I had met my now husband, and I did online university for international business. But that is what I did. But then I never built a career. I had always worked in food services, because when I was 19, I got pregnant. So that became the priority, was caring for my son and navigating being a young mom. But it was always gosh, I took Pizza Hut orders in my basement. I was a lunch lady at a cafeteria. I sold Mary Kay. I did everything possible to pay the bills and help contribute. But yeah, I was never happy, and I never had any graphic design experience or anything relevant to this.
Well, but advertising, you're around all the graphics, so you can kind of pick up a little bit of what's going on
And oddly
graphically.
enough, I really failed the Illustrator class. Like, I did not like it. I did not like how perfect everything was. I think, that's why my brand, the lettering is imperfect. Things aren't straight. I'm known for the imperfect perfectness, just my own look.
It's kind of like real life.
So it helps. Definitely.
So then how did you fall? Okay, so you've been doing this for this, you had just celebrated your 6-year anniversary of the Dayna collection. And so what was that moment that day when that started? Or how did it start?
It got so bad. I think working these jobs that really were soul sucking for me, I just couldn't do it anymore. And my last job was Tim Hortons. I think you guys have them in the States, right? Maybe.
Was who?
There was Tim Hortons, the coffee shop. It's like a fast food
we don't
coffee
have
shop.
I'm all the way in California.
California, yeah, you're probably have something nicer. But I worked.
We have Starbucks.
I love Starbucks.
Oh, goodness.
I'm such a coffee lover. Okay, so I worked at the coffee shop, and I was working the drive-through, and I was managing like teenagers, and every day I was like, I just want to keep driving straight. Like, I don't want to pull in. I know, but I'm talking next level. Like, I would cry every day. I was just so depressed, and it was like my bottom. And I still wasn't able to pay the bills. I was working part-time, and I was willing to do whatever it took to help my family. The clock you hear is my big grandfather clock in the background.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it just got really bad. And one day I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was crying to my mom, who happened to be a painter. And she was like, you know what, maybe you could just help sell my art and I can pay you. I'm like, okay. I always want to help people because I didn't have a skill or a talent, so I'm like, I can help sell your work. But she wasn't actually completing anything, not enough for me to help her. And so I explained, like, even this lettering technique, the fake calligraphy, that might look nice on your work. And she wasn't into it, which I understood, whatever you love, you should do. But I practiced it. And then I was like, I'm just going to roll with this. I always knew I had pretty handwriting. I think it's like my only skill. I think I can do something with this, and I'm willing to give it all I got. I have nothing to lose. It was my bottom, and I can only go up from here. And then I started it.
And you started it right at the right time. In fact, you probably are the original of when it comes to that. Hand lettering is so hot right now in stationery and on product. But 6 years ago, it's probably when it was just kind of starting out. So it
wasn't as saturated as it is right now.
Right, yeah. Right. So you started, so then what, did you start an Etsy store, or how did you start using the lettering? Were you doing greeting cards, or what product were you putting it on?
I was writing, like I was using a marker and a piece of construction paper. Like, I really had like $5 in my account. It was a big deal to go to Michael's and buy some supplies. Like, I had nothing. So I opened an Etsy store, but when I look at what I created back then, oh my God, it was ugly. And I kind of knew it wasn't the best, but I knew if I put it out there and I felt like it wasn't good enough, I would be more motivated to change it and grow and evolve because people were seeing it. I wasn't just holding on to it and being afraid. It was out there. And if I didn't like it, I better keep practicing and replace it with something, my best work. So I jumped in, and it was not pretty, but I just kept going and kept practicing. I didn't look at any calligraphy books. I didn't watch any YouTube videos. I just practiced for days and hours. Yeah.
Okay, so there's two takeaways in this, what you're just telling me right now, I really, really like. One is the practice, 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 because that's what we're always doing with our craft, whatever it is, whether you do music or you're an actor or you're an artist, it's just always, touching your craft every day, doing something about that, like the practice. And the other
And you
thing
should
was
never
that you
stop
said,
learning something new. Yeah.
oh yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I really like is that you said you just put it out there, even though it wasn't that great. And every artist that I know today that I've spoken with that is very successful has said the exact same thing. And a lot of them go, sometimes I look back and those are my favorite pieces, although they were horrible. That they're my favorite pieces. And I can even personally say the same thing. Like at some point, you just have to start putting things out there if you want to get feedback or to improve and to expand as an artist or a creator.
Yeah, it's nice if you're holding all this beautiful work, but you're not sharing it with the world. Like, how can you call yourself, an artist or anything? Like, you really let go of your excuses. I find excuses are like a pet peeve of mine. I'm like, it is just a list of fears. You're saying I don't have time, but you're really saying, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what people will think and failure and being vulnerable or different. And I just don't want to be judged. I think just dive in, because when you're working, you're not going to be doubting yourself as much. Just enjoy it, leap, go for it.
Oh my gosh, I really love all those things that you just said.
Thank you so much.
Maybe you could be a therapist too.
I don't know what's in store after this. I'm always like, I'm proudly awkward and anxious, and I can write. I love to write the quotes, but I find like when I'm speaking, it's not as eloquent. But even though I was nervous today, I knew it was important to say yes. You just always continue to say yes and step out of my comfort zone and grow as a person and entrepreneur.
This is what I love you so much. You have this incredible brand and you are the most humble person I've ever met.
Thank you. I guess I just don't see it like that. Like, I'm so grateful for the success, but I'm always like, either fears, like I have fears, but I still do things. I'm worried this is all going to end, or like, oh, you've had your moment, Dayna, but it's time to pack it up. I'm always feeling like I've got to prove myself and sustain. And yeah, there's still a lot of things happening in my mind that aren't good.
Well, I think I wish I could take that all away from you, but that's your journey, to have those feelings about what you're doing. But I think what the beauty behind it is that it speaks to so many people, which is why your brand is so big. It's because you are actually touching on a pulse point of a lot of women who do feel the same way and they need the encouragement. And your products are not just products or just pretty calligraphy, they actually are inspirational reminders to just keep going. It's great, Dayna.
Thank you. That was always so important to me. Is like, I didn't want to just be a product, or like, I'm not trying to just make money and pay my bills. Like, I know what so many women face, and I've struggled so much and I continue to struggle. But, this mom of 3 sitting on her couch lettering, just wants women to know that they can do anything, and I'm there for them. And it's not just an empty quote I'm putting out there. I was so tired of seeing the same quotes, and I didn't feel anything. I know it's very popular, but she believed she could, so she did. I kept seeing it. I'm like, I want to see new quotes, something that really pertains to my life. And that's immediately I was writing different quotes.
Oh.
And it's hard watching them escape me, get copied and everything. That's one of the hardest parts of having this business, right. But it's also the biggest thing of DLC is having, quotes written by me that mean something.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good.
Well, so
I could go into like a million different directions right now, and because you and I are kind of in the same world. That's how I was contacted by Ecolo to license for them and did for a little while. And I went obviously to see who the other artists were, and you were one of them. So I started following you, and we're completely different, but I love everything that you do and that you're creating, and it's just so Well, of course, everything's like so lovely and pink, so that makes me really happy.
Yes,
But
we have that in common, colors. So that's
yeah,
good.
color, we love color. But it is interesting, like when in that little world of surface design and stuff like that, and people, there's the trends like, oh, do tropical or do this or that. But you've kept consistently, you've been doing your quotes and stuff, and that is a trend now. It's like hand lettering and stuff. But
Yes.
the thing that sets you apart is that these are actually your words. So that's what's really special about it, for people to know that difference too, I think.
It's
Uh,
hard, like, especially in the last couple of years, it's like there are so many Etsy shops and just brands popping up. Like, I'm inspiring and empowering women, and here's some quotes on things. And I get
and
so,
you're like, and those are my
um,
quotes.
sometimes, yes, people do take my quotes, and it's like a feeling like no other. And
I
my heart,
know.
goes
We've
to my
all had
stomach, and
it.
I cry a lot. But I have to think, I can't fight it. It really takes away my creativity. I'm just
Mhm.
like, you know what? I wrote that like 4 years ago. And the person I am today as a designer and my work right now, it's totally different than what I've done before.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's like the wild, wild west out there. But I also think that there's a lot of artists who understand this and also have been copied, who are always having each other's back. Like if I saw something of yours, I'd be sending it to you.
That
And
sense of community does help. And you know that you're not alone. You know that there's thousands of other artists getting copied, and this isn't just you going through this. So I think
mhm.
that does help too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also you just can't get stuck there. I mean, onward and upward. It's like
No,
I
it's
did that
so
4 years
draining.
ago, honey. Like that's bye-bye. I'm on to the next, and that's the great thing about being an original, is that you're always creating the next greatest thing, and you do it for yourself, for your self-expression, and then it resonates with whatever clientele that's out there. It's the ones that are copying, it doesn't, you can't sustain that. It's just
No, there's no authenticity at
right.
all.
And
So
so
you will make a few sales, but yeah, you're not a brand.
right, exactly. So yeah, you just gotta let that go. And unfortunately, it's kind of the nature of the beast these days. But um,
Seriously.
when did it go from your little Etsy shop to Ecolo? Or was there licensing in between that you were doing that was kind of making the brand grow? Did you do a
No,
show? Like what happened to kind of launch it?
it was all Ecolo that launched it, but I had been trying for 2 years, which isn't very long until you get noticed for licensing. I was very lucky, but I think I was about to quit. I'm like, this is not making me money, and I am giving up hours of my day. And I had my two sons at that time.
Mm,
And I'm like, what am I doing this for? Like, I'm trying, but it's not really paying off. I don't know what to do. And I would do little shows, but I always like handmade ones. And I was selling pillows and art prints and anything I could do locally. Again, I had like no money, no
mm.
credit cards. I'm just ordering, and kind of like when an order comes in. So I'm not making money. I'm not ordering my stuff in bulk. And yeah, so at the handmade shows, I just felt like I didn't belong. Like I wasn't really handmade. And I was looking at all these amazing like, crafters and everything. I'm like, I just don't fit in, but I kept doing them. And then Ecolo wrote me, yeah, 4 years ago. So 2 years into the business. And they were like, have you considered licensing? And I did not write back. I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, that is beyond me. I think that means like they take your stuff. Like, I don't know what that means. And so I didn't write it back. And I was like, oh, okay, that's done. Okay. So a week goes by, and my mom, she loves to journal. And I happen to have a box of her journals in my basement. And I look at one, and it has Ecolo's name on it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this was purchased at my favorite Canadian store, Chapters Indigo. And I didn't respond to their email. Like, oh my God. So I wrote back right away, like, oh yeah, of course, sorry for the delay. I would love to take your call.
So you ignored the email, but then you noticed this. I love Chapters Indigo, by the way. Oh my goodness. So then
It's a beautiful
you
store.
replied, yeah, and you replied to them after that, and it was game on.
Yeah, it just happened so quickly. So I took a call, which was like my first business call ever. And I licensed with them. Everything was signed, but I didn't know, I knew that they licensed, here and there, but I didn't know that for me, it was going to be like, you get your own collections. And this is like a really big life-changing moment. So it was really exciting. I think I was like the first big license.
I think you were actually, yeah.
But
I
I didn't know
remember.
it, but I
Yeah.
was excited. I didn't know why me. I'm like, what was it, But I'm so
Well,
grateful for
you
them.
had, you know what it was, Dayna, really? I mean, objectively looking back, you can probably see this, is you had a big body of work to show. You had enough work to show a collection. So that's something to keep in mind too for a lot of artists out there, that when you're creating work, that think of it in collections if you want to license it, because that's how companies can present it then onto product. Um, so you may have not consciously been doing that, but because it was such a consistent look that you were doing, you had enough work to say, hey, let's make this a collection.
It's very true. I was like designing every single day and trying to put something new out every second day. I was working really hard to build a proper storefront on Etsy. But I also want to add that you should put yourself out there, because you have no idea who's watching. So sometimes it's not even you reaching out to a licensing company. They're all on Instagram and Etsy, and they're scouting. So I think it's really important to put your work out there,
Right. That's
again,
how they
before you're
found me.
ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see?
Yes, I know. I've actually had several deals come to me that way, just because of that, putting my work out there. And one thing I need to get a little bit more in touch with is Pinterest, because that seems to be where a lot of the art directors are going, and I haven't even looked at my Pinterest page in years. So,
True.
but a lot of people pin my work or pin your work, and then that's how things are getting found as well. So it is a good, Pinterest is an interesting vehicle because it acts as a search engine. So it's not like Instagram where it goes through your feed and you never see it again unless you go to that person's page. Pinterest is like, you can type in hand lettered quotes and probably most of your stuff would come right up to the top. So
The problem was, like, a few years ago, I wouldn't put my name on my work. And so there was quotes on Pinterest, and they get pinned with no credit, but they also get printed and misused. So I see a lot of that.
yeah.
And Pinterest for me is like a double-edged sword. I don't know if I'm a fan, but I know that a lot of people are using it and that there are benefits. I think I'm just a little, upset about how it was
There's
used.
a big lesson right there. Put your watermark on there. Put your name.
Oh my gosh, lesson one, please. Yes,
It really is. And I know
your
a
work.
lot of artists who do not put their signatures somewhere on their images. Which, even at that point, things could be photoshopped out or whatever, but
I've had that happen too. And I'm not putting any artwork on my Instagram. I'm just putting pictures of products. Like, I'm very protective now. And lesson learned.
that's a really good idea. That's actually,
Some people like to show their work in progress, but yeah, I don't know. It's completely up to you. But I just like to show the final product.
I always try to, if I put something up there, it's a pretty low res image in case somebody would want to take it. But there's definitely some of my more high res stuff floating around out there, especially the early stuff before we knew the people would actually do that.
Was when. Yep. Nobody warns you, but now, we're warning everyone else.
Yeah, this is good. This is good.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. So I also see that you have a lot of different products. So you're expanding.
Oh my gosh.
Are you expanding? I love the stickers. So cute. So you're expanding and doing let's see, you have mugs, journals, pens, stickers, planners.
I feel like we could be here for an hour. Everything. I think it's just like words can go on anything.
Right.
And now I'm not even doing journals as much. Like that's where the focus was the last few years. And I'm designing like jewelry boxes this month. And, I've tried mocking up kitchen stuff, like anything in our house, any gift, any houseware. I feel like words they work on the product. And I try and think about the product first. Like, okay, this is a pen. What do I want the pen to say to this woman who uses this pen? Like, so I'll say on it, like, a pen that believes in you. I
Oh,
think about the product first and then come up with the words to go on it.
mm-hmm.
That's fun.
I think you have like a little book inside of you, maybe a little
Oh my
book
gosh.
of a book of quotes and inspirational. Yeah, I think so. If you
You
ever want
never
to
know.
self-publish something, let me tell you, I know all about it.
It's funny. It's like it was always a little dream of mine, but to write a book about, I don't know, just sharing the story more. And yeah, someone with struggles and who you might not think would be a successful entrepreneur, who doesn't really fit the mold, and you know.
I mean, well, what is the mold?
I don't know,
Like,
but in your
especially
head,
for an
I think you've been.
entrepreneur, everybody's
Uh,
blazing their own path. It's like you have to just go do you. Like you said, you listened to Chantal's episode about doing the paper flowers, which, nobody could have taught her that. She made that up. She just like had to create it and come up with templates, um, and so I, I think trying to fit into whose box is that? I don't know.
I think when you're younger, like I remember when I was in high school, I'm like, there's no expectations on me. I'm not someone that people are looking to thinking like she's going to do something great with her life. I think before social media, like you didn't dream as big. You didn't know the kind of careers that you could build for yourself. It was just, are you going to be a teacher? Are you going to go into business? Stuff like that. So I think with me too, and my low self-esteem and everything, I'm going like, well, I'm just not the girl. Like I'm shy and I'm a little awkward and I'm incredibly anxious, and I just worry about, did people meet me and like, you're behind DLCs? I know it's silly, it's just on the surface stuff, but yeah, I'm like, if I want people to know, like women to know, if I can do this, just with everything that you think will hold you back, but it doesn't, then you can do this. Whatever you're struggling with, you can do anything you want.
That's such a beautiful. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that because it's so powerful. And I mean, I think everybody at some point they're going to struggle with those, with anxiety and with fear and self-doubt, and especially when you are an entrepreneur and you're doing your own thing. It's like you could get up and do nothing, or you can get up and you've got to set the world on fire. It's only up to you. You don't have a boss. Well, you do kind of have a boss when you have a licensing contract, but
True.
but you're still coming up with your thing, whether you want to get up and do it. And the tenacity, like you had all of these years, like work, practice, practice, practice. I mean, that eventually pays off.
It does. Like, I actually believe that whether you think you have a skill or not, you can start today. And if you just dive in and let go of whatever's holding you back and you just work on it and work hard. Like, I can't believe how hard that I've worked. I've built something. Like, I have a successful business. I can't believe it. And I held on to it and I didn't quit, because I'm writing quotes like, and she never gave up. She, led a life of endless possibilities. How can I quit? And, when I'm telling women not to quit, I have
Right.
to be held accountable. So all of it goes together. I want to show you that you can do this as I am doing this myself.
This is really great. I really love these interviews because it's really it's so nice to know the story behind your brand, even though you do give snippets of it, to actually hear it in your voice and that you're sharing with your genuine concern and why you're creating. You actually have this true mission behind your artwork. It's just really it makes me want your product more.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't get opportunities like this very much, but I do love to share the story. And I think
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook can kind of be limiting. Like, you do have to show the pretty sides. You can be authentic in
Mhm.
your captions and everything, but it's still really hard you don't know how much to share and everything. But this is amazing, the opportunity that you give people like me.
I know, we were talking about this a little bit before I started recording. It's like the crazy things that have happened in my life these past few months. Like I
And no
don't
one would
share,
know it on
nobody would
Instagram.
know it on Instagram. And the people are like, your life is so perfect. And I'm like, oh my God, if you only knew what was happening behind the scenes. It's just, I just don't think, one, I don't want to give any more energy to things that have happened that weren't necessarily the greatest things. And two, I just really don't think anybody would care to know that you were in a car accident or whatever happened. It's just I, like you said, it's my brand, and that's the product, that's the place for that. It's not really the place to be sharing all of that stuff unless it is part of your brand, part of your story you know um,
I think maybe you should share a little bit more. It's nice to get to know you, and I don't know if it's nice probably for your followers is to let you know, like you got this and everything. It's like it's a
yeah,
community, and it's okay to lean on that. And I think yes, we do care, and it would be totally a good
that's
idea for you to
interesting
share a little bit more.
because I felt like, gosh, I haven't been able to post lately, because because my mother's not been very well, and so I feel like I haven't had time to post anything. I feel like I need to at least go, hey guys, this is going on. Life is happening right now. This is why you haven't really seen much of me. And then it feels kind of weird. Like if I do post something that is, I'm painting or whatever, which, you get like little moments in between. And for me, painting is my go-to. But it feels weird. Like everything's fine when everything sometimes isn't fine. You know?
Yeah, I
No?
definitely share. If I'm not feeling it, if I can't post, if I'm not feeling inspired, I will tell the followers, anyone who's reading, I'm like, I'm just in a really bad spot right now and I haven't posted in a week. I'm working through it. I still post a pretty picture, but like, this is what I'm going through. It's so hard, balancing. And I think people would just love to hear whatever you're going through so that, everyone knows that we're all human and there's so many curveballs that we all have to experience. I think it's okay not to share what you're not comfortable with, but to share a little bit more about like who you are behind your beautiful paintings.
Oh goodness. I don't know.
Feels like I'm
Sometimes
interviewing you.
I know. Sometimes I feel like people share too much. Like it's like,
That is very true.
you
I
know what I
don't
mean?
need to
It's
see your
like,
dinner from the last 7 days.
well, and also it's like I like you said, you're still laughing after all the things I told you I just went through. And I'm like, I am a positive person and I do go through life, and life can be really challenging, but I try to always find the good in it, and what I have to learn from this. Like, how can I expand and grow from this experience? But some people just like, they'll just post and it's just like wah, wah, like over and over and
Yes.
over. It's like
I try not
I
to follow those kinds of people, but
yeah.
also knowing that life is not perfect, but yes, getting past it makes
Yeah,
it's going to make you stronger. That kind of stuff I like to read.
right, right.
Just know that you're human.
Well, speaking of all of this, I usually like to wrap up my interviews with asking, well, you kind of answered a couple of them, but basically, um, you can either answer what was the best business advice ever given to you, or what would be your advice to that young 19-year-old mother just starting out.
I think advice for someone just starting out, like she feels like it's not her time, like she can't do anything with her life, or it's too late to build a career or anything. I don't know. That's how I was feeling. Like I'm
Hmm.
excited to have a child, but what is my self identity going to look like? I
Hmm.
just want anyone who's feeling that way to know that you really can create the life that you want, and you just have to get out of your own way. And I know there's fears and doubts, and it is really scary putting yourself out there, but it's also limitless. And I never know what's coming my way. And I can't believe the successes I've had. I just know that there's no ceiling, and I'm just so lucky and fulfilled. So
Hmm.
you can create a fulfilling, meaningful life all on your own, and you can do anything.
I really like that. And not only for someone, I mean, being a mother, I have three daughters that I've mentioned before. And I'm so grateful that I do have my career as well, because when they all went away to college, which by the way they do before you know it, or they move out,
I
you
know, I'm so nervous.
it's like you just gotta like just really savor all those days that you have with them when they're little, because and I did. I feel like I really got to do that. But when they leave, then you're like, okay, now what? Now who am I? And it was so nice to be able to like kind of throw myself back into my work and my art and stuff. So even
Yeah, I believe you that you need something of your own, something
yes,
that just represents all, like, just for you, that makes you
yes,
happy.
exactly. This was great, Dayna. Thank you so much. We got through it. I'm so excited.
Thank you. Yeah, that was
Wow.
really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this podcast and you'd like to support it even more, you can join me over on patreon.com/Mari Robeson and become a patron of mine. If you're a patron of mine, you'll receive bonus episodes every month, only for patrons. You'll also receive 20% off all the merchandise in my online shop, marirobeson.bigcartel, and you will be receiving free printables every month that will be of my artwork, and they're some really fun things. You can follow along on Instagram and you can see what I'm creating just for my patrons. I would deeply appreciate it. It would help me keep the lights on, and it would help me pay all the fees that it takes to put together a podcast like this, so that I can keep supporting all the artists, keep bringing you great information, keep paying it forward to the next generation of artists. It's just a wonderful thing, and I would really deeply appreciate your support.